I'm calling to order a meeting of the Wilsonville City Council on Monday, November 1st at 7:05 p.m. Will the city recorder please call the roll?
Councillor Linville.
Here.
Councillor West.
Here.
Council President Ockervall.
Here.
Councillor Leehan.
Here.
Mayor Fitzgerald.
Here. Will the city manager please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the order of agenda? Council President Ockervall.
Your Honor, I move we approve the order of agenda.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Can you approve it as amended? Because we're moving Mr. Carlson's presentation from work session to communications.
Thank you. Could I ask the maker of the motion to so amend?
Yes, so amend.
Do I have a second to approve the order of agenda as amended?
Second.
Councillor Linville, the motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Seeing unanimous vote there, I will note that the motion has passed 5-0. And that brings us to Mayor's business, and I will note that our next meeting of the council is Monday, November 15th. And I'm just going to go over some of the things that have been taking place that were in my work as mayor representing the city, and then later in the meeting we'll hear from each of the councilors on some of the committees they are active in and ways they've been representing the city. But one of the things we're working on with staff is to look at the redistricting process and how it relates to the metro boundaries. So this is similar to how the Oregon legislature undertook a redistricting process for the state legislature and congressional districts, given the population changes that were cataloged in the 2020 decennial census. So the city will submit testimony similar to what we've done before to Metro. It will follow what we've done before that seeks to unite Wilsonville into one district. And staff is developing that testimony along the same lines we've discussed before for an upcoming November 9th meeting of the Metro Council at a Metro Council hearing. Also, lots of activity with one of the committees, and I'm going to call attention to acronyms today when each of the councilors talks about your meetings. Go ahead and describe what those meetings are in addition to the acronym, because I've had some questions from people. So one of the meetings that we attend a lot is called C4, and it's the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee for Cities in Clackamas County. And we have been hearing about development of a new subcommittee that is focused on issues of traffic diversion pertaining to ODOT's proposed tolling of I-205. And to recap, there is, they are looking at a whole system-wide tolling, but starting with I-205. And we will be involved in a discussion on what are the mitigation measures relative to the I-205 section of that, which is the beginning. Councillor Linville and I will act as representatives and alternate to the larger Clackamas 4 cities body, and also to the C4 Metro subcommittee that Councillor Linville attends. So this time it's really, we don't know how often they will meet, but that will be a new committee that will undertake the tolling diversion subcommittee, and we'll report back on what we learned. Along those lines, ODOT is hosting 2 online public comment meetings that I think are really important, focused on the future of congestion pricing in the Portland metro area. That will be on November 9th and 10th. And to get the information and go online and participate in that, go to the ODOT website, which is www.oregon.gov/ODOT/tolling, and I will ask the communications office of the city to do some public outreach about that so it's easy to find. Still on the subject of transportation, a number of the council members attended, and they might describe this later, but attended the ODOT Smart Bus on Shoulder pilot project kickoff event that we had last week. And we had the director of ODOT, Chris Strickler, there. It was a nice blustery day. We were joined by Tualatin Mayor Frank Fuganik, Clackamas County Commissioner Paul Savas, and Milwaukee City Council President Kathy Heisey. And Councillor Heisey, Council President Heisey from Milwaukee does represent the Clackamas County cities at yet another committee where we are represented, and that is called JPAC, it's Metro's Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation. And because we're one of the smaller cities, we share the responsibility with a rotating city representative to represent our interests there. But this bus on shoulder is going to be a one-year pilot project, and it authorizes SMART to use the highway shoulder in clearly marked areas when traffic drops below 35 miles per hour. And I see now on the reader boards on I-5 it calls that out. It was a real honor to have SMART selected for that. We heard from Dwight Brashear, our director of our transit program, at that event, and several others, and it was actually it was just a really great event, and we got to go on a test drive. So it's really an innovative transit service designed to provide more reliable travel times during the rush hour traffic commute between Wilsonville Transit Center and the I-5 Tualatin Park and Ride Transit Center. So there's more to learn on that. It's just getting started. If you can handle a little bit more on this, the I-5 Toll Project Regional Transportation Plan, which is the RTP amendment, clarifies the financial connection of the I-205 toll project to the I-205 improvement project, which would add lanes and rebuild the Abernathy Bridge over the Willamette River. So we also learned that the 2021 MAP Transportation System Management and Operations Strategy, which has a new acronym, I believe this is the new one, it's called the TISMO. This plan focuses on travel, reliability, and safety, providing travel information on reader boards. So those are some of the things to help ease the traffic. And I want to say in a lot of these meetings about tolling and the bus on shoulder, there's a lot of attention toward developing more opportunities for people to travel east-west between Wilsonville and Tualatin, for example, to Oregon City. We know that there's a really limited number of options, and in Clackamas County, Commissioner Savas is putting a lot of time into that, and we'll keep reporting back to you on ways to improve that. One of the areas of activity that's taken a good amount of my time since January, and it's been a very good use of time, is the Metropolitan Mayors Consortium. So mayors in the three counties meet and discuss various things. We just had a meeting. We heard from Senator Jeff Merkley at that meeting. He spoke about the infrastructure funding package now making its way rather slowly through Congress. And we'll all hear more about that in the days ahead. We have also recently been updating the bylaws for the Metropolitan Mayors Consortium, and we have a retreat coming up. And these meetings provide a lot of good opportunities for the cities along I-5 who have shared opportunities and challenges to work together. And beyond that area, also into the all the counties in the metro area and beyond the metro boundaries as well. The League of Oregon Cities recently had their annual conference and membership meeting, and a couple of us attended that meeting. I think I will leave that to Council President Aukerball to report on. And the last one I think that I wanted to report on is the French Prairie Forum. Councillor Leehan attended that as well and has a lot of knowledge about the French Prairie, but I wanted to share something that was just really great about the last meeting, and I hope we can get some of this report brought to our council meeting. I happen to have a degree in agriculture from Oregon State, and I'm really interested in agriculture. This was a report from the Oregon State University Extension Research station there in Aurora on the French Prairie. I think we might have a slide to show from the meeting. But it really was talking about the incredible value of commerce that is produced by the agricultural area or enterprises around Wilsonville and adjoining Wilsonville and the French Prairie. And I think that slide disappeared, but it might be coming back up. But basically, we are often hearing about these great high-tech innovations to our area, great companies that come in that bring a lot of traded sector, such as Twist Bioscience, which will allow us to produce goods and products and have them traded outside of Oregon, outside of our country, and how valuable that is. Well, we also heard the French Prairie Forum about the long-standing incredible impact of agriculture in our area to our economy. And I know that we all know this, but I just want to reinforce that as it's just incredible what we have in the French Prairie, and the agricultural enterprises are not the kind that are going to be bought out and moved to another area when that company moves or changes. If we can keep our farmland as productive and protected as it is. For example, not only do we have the products being grown there, but we also have lots of jobs related to that right in Wilsonville and Tualatin, such as Pacific Natural Foods, which is now happens to be owned by Campbell Soup. They employ 600 workers in Tualatin and Wilsonville, and they farm 1,000 acres in French Prairie near Aurora, contracting with local farmers. I think there might be one or two other slides here. Here we go. This is the map that I wanted to show that was part of the presentation. We heard from Willamette Valley Vineyards, and we also heard from Larry George, a hazelnut grower, as well as Oregon State University about this area, shown by that boundary in blue. So 117,000 acres is what is the size of French Prairie. And it is surrounding some really important urban areas and just an important part of our economy and also our tourism in this area. So look forward to hearing more about that later. And I think it's taking a little while to get the slides, so that's probably good on that one. You will be hearing soon from us about the Greater Portland Inc., which is an economic development initiative and group that Wilsonville participates in. We had a really good presentation on disaster preparedness. Last point is noting that Veterans Day is coming up on November 11th, and we will have City Hall, the library, the community center, and city facilities closed in honor of Veterans Day. With that, I will move to the communications section. And we will welcome we have a staff presentation about the residential building code adoption by Mr. Carlson and Mr. Adams.
Okay, good evening. Let me get my screen share going here. Good evening, Mayor Fitzgerald and members of the City Council. For the record, my name is Dan Carlson, and I serve as the city's building official. I'm here tonight regarding the adoption of Resolution 2926, which proposes to locally adopt the 2021 Oregon Residential Specialty Code. Tonight we'll hit on these four areas: the resolution, local code add-backs, stakeholder outreach, and briefly highlight a few of the code changes. March of 2021, we adopted the plumbing, electrical, and fire codes. The adoption of the residential code was delayed at that time, and the state provided a grace period to implement it. Through state law, the State Building Codes Division establishes the building codes that must be used in each jurisdiction in Oregon. Each jurisdiction who locally administers a building code program must adopt administrative provisions and technical provisions. The administrative provisions were adopted in 2019 through a complete rewrite of Wilsonville Code Chapter 9 entitled Building Codes. With regard to the adoption of technical provisions, Wilsonville Code Chapter 9 states that Wilsonville will adopt the state codes for local administration via resolution. Resolution 2926 on page 175 of your packet is proposing to adopt the 2021 Oregon Residential Specialty Code, effective November 1st, 2021, and it is adding back technical provisions that are found in the model codes that the state has indicated are not under the statutory authority of ORS 455 for the state to adopt. We went through a similar add-back exercise in 2020 when we adopted the commercial codes. Here is a graphic from the State Building Codes Division. If you look at the graphic, you see two circles. This is the state's view of their statutory authority to regulate construction activities in Oregon. Some of these apply specifically to commercial and some to residential construction, and some apply to both. The inner circle is what the state says it has authority under ORS 455 to regulate. The items in the blue circle is what the state indicates local jurisdictions can adopt and regulate under the state-adopted building code. The items listed outside the circles around the border are those items that the state says local jurisdictions are solely responsible to regulate if they choose to do so. As with the commercial code, as your building official, I am recommending that we continue our current practices and locally regulate and add back 9 items. These are the 9 items included in the blue circle and white fringes. Those items are contained in Exhibit 1 to the resolution and include demolition, unsafe structures or equipment, service utilities, protection of adjoining property, temporary use of streets, alleys, and public property, water supply for fire protection, excavation and grading, fences, and retaining walls. The 2021 residential code contains some significant changes. This is one of the reasons the state has provided builders, designers, and local jurisdictions a 6-month grace period from the original April 1st, 2021 effective date. For the past 9 to 10 months, the state has been conducting outreach and training for local stakeholders. In addition, they have provided a summary matrix of an 86-page code change document that includes significant code changes. The state has provided this training online and free of charge. In order to maintain state certifications, staff have completed code change training, and in turn, staff have been conducting outreach to local stakeholders. The summary of the code change matrix is the first 6 pages shown in this slide. Most of the major changes are centered around energy codes. This is primarily driven from Governor Brown's executive order issued in 2017. It's number 17-20, which mandates that codes drive our state to have an all-new residential construction at zero energy-ready home equivalency by 2023. As a point of interest, I thought I'd highlight just a few of these changes. Codes were added to recognize new technology around the installation of solar roof shingles. We've actually seen a couple permits of these installations in town. Codes were added to improve air infiltration standards through tightening up homes with a continuous air barrier and to require whole house ventilation. In most cases, this will require an additional piece of equipment called an HRV or ERV, that stands for Heat Recovery Ventilator or Energy Recovery Ventilator. These units exchange heat. Outside air comes into the unit and interior air passes out of the unit to the outside. As interior and exterior air bypass, they exchange heating or cooling so that new, fresh, tempered air is introduced into the home. Next, we see that ductwork will be required to be sealed and contained inside the building envelope or within the heated space. This will eliminate ductwork in the crawl spaces, providing greater energy savings. Attic ductwork will need to be relocated or it will require embedment under the attic insulation as shown in this photo. One last highlight. All new homes are required to be electric vehicle and solar ready, meaning they are pre-wired to readily accept EV or solar should the owner decide to install later. In conclusion, staff recommends the Council adopt 2021 Oregon Residential Code by adopting Resolution 2926, effective November 1st, 2021. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Any questions, councilors? I'm not seeing any questions right now. I know you've given us a lot of detail in Exhibit 1 that was in our package and explained it here in the session. And I do have a hand up from Councillor Linville.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson, for your presentation. I can tell that you do teaching as well, so that's nice to hear. So on the, particularly on the ductwork and on the solar panels in the attics or on the roofs, is that new construction only for the residential code, or is that for existing if there are remodels or a new roof installed?
Yeah, that is for brand new construction for solar and for EV ready.
I meant the solar, the roof panels, the roofing materials.
Oh, yes. So we actually do not require that a person have installed solar. What's required is that a building, a brand new home, be pre-wired so that it can accommodate those solar systems. And what we saw in this code adoption cycle was that they actually added some tools for us to be able to effectively regulate what we're seeing is these new solar shingles. One manufacturer being Tesla, that you may have heard. We actually have 2 installations in town that are Tesla systems.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you. This will be one of the items under our consent agenda. So I know you put a lot of time and work into this. Thank you for the presentation, and we will look forward to seeing more of these energy efficient enhancements.
Thank you.
That brings us to the citizens input and community announcement section. I will ask if we have, I'm going to read this section and then I will ask if we have anyone planning to present. Citizens input and community announcements is an opportunity for visitors to address the City Council on items not on the agenda. It is also the time to address items that are on the agenda but not scheduled for a public hearing. Staff and the City Council will make every effort to respond to questions raised during the citizens' input before tonight's meeting ends or as quickly as possible thereafter. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes and use the raise hand feature of Zoom to let us know if you'd like to provide comments. Do we have any people wanting to present, Mr. Cosgrove?
We do not, Mayor.
Okay. That brings us to councilor comments, liaison reports, and meeting announcements, starting with Council President Ockervall.
Thank you. Since our last meeting, I did attend the League of Oregon Cities annual conference, which was held virtually this year. I also attended the League of Oregon Cities Women's Caucus meetings that was all held on October 22nd. The conference had sessions on police legislation as well as vaccine requirements, which were very timely sessions for us to receive some education about. And I believe that actually video recordings are available to those that attended and perhaps the rest of council as well, if those are interesting to other council members. Let's see, there was also election of officers for this new year. I attended the Bus on Shoulder kickoff event on October 26th, and it was exciting to kind of share in the excitement of this new pilot program. And congratulations to SMART and all of our staff that have put a tremendous amount of work into this and will be conducting the pilot along with ODOT, collecting information and data that can be gathered during the pilot period. I attended the Willamette Intake Facilities Commission meeting, the WIF meeting, on October 25th. And during the meeting, we actually were able to preview a video that they put together, a construction video, kind of looking at the replacement of some of the intake screens work that's happening down there. And I believe that video can be seen on the Willamette Intake Facilities Commission website. And I have to say, you know, I think it's maybe 15, 20-minute video, but they take the cameras underwater. It's a whole view of the Willamette River that I had never seen before, down to those intake screens and some of the welding that they're doing. So it was pretty in-depth look at the work that's happening in that area. It was pretty interesting to see that. We also reviewed the project outline for development of the Commission's Watershed Protection, Monitoring, and Outreach Plan. That was on our agenda that evening. And on October 26th, I attended the Child Care Task Force meeting for Clackamas County. This is a new group. It is being organized by the Early Learning Hub of Clackamas County, as well as Clackamas Workforce Partnership and the Clackamas ESD. And at this stage, they are collecting people in our county, a number of different elected leaders, people working within the industry, parents, a number of different people are involved in that group, and business leaders as well. And at this point, kind of starting to better understand the context and the different ideas for success within Clackamas County. Let's see, I want to note that in the fall, you know, we have a number of different traditions that are celebrated by people in our community. Today is November 1st, that marks the start of Dia de los Muertos. This is a day of remembrance of loved ones. Later this week, some people will be celebrating Diwali, the Festival of Light in our community. And last night, I was happy to join with many families in celebrating Halloween festivities. So I think all of these different festivals and festivities and celebrations, they bring us together, and I wish everyone a safe and a happy time celebrating the many holidays that they appreciate and respect. And I also want to note that on November 17th, it is Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. And last week, I listened to a webinar about this celebration. It's rather new, a couple years I think just maybe 2017, 2018, it was started. And the webinar also covered other topics that was presented by Oregon Safe Routes to School. I know that many of us in our community have been looking for ways to support our own and our kids' learning of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and this is a great opportunity. I know that at least one school in Wilsonville is celebrating Ruby Bridges Day, and information can also be found on the Oregon Safe Routes to School website. And this day is an opportunity to walk to school and to look into a little bit about the civil rights movement, story of Ruby Bridges, and also celebrate Ruby's courage. And I hope that families in our community will choose to take this opportunity to discuss the events with our kids, reflect on youth involvement in activism today, and how each person can be involved and do work to stop racism. And so that is it for me for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President Ockervall, and now we'll move to Councillor Leehan.
These are my Day of the Dead people. See, there they are, because that's what today is. Good to celebrate. And I will say about Halloween this year, it was almost normal. Children came to the door, and not a lot, but a number, way more than last year. So it was, and they had fabulous costumes. So it was almost normal Halloween. In the last couple of weeks, as the mayor said, I did go to the Bus on the Shoulder, which was very interesting, mostly by what was interesting to me about it was the number of people from other jurisdictions who were there to see it and celebrate about it. Other cities, other transit districts, certainly ODOT had a lot of people there. So it was, there was a lot of outside of Wilsonville interest in Bus on the Shoulder. I have also been, as she said, attending the French Prairie Forum, and that was very interesting. One of the things that we discussed there was the supply chain issue, and you don't think of it that much, but you know, when I asked the different people whether they were wineries or filbert producers, the supply chain issue is an issue for them. They can't get glass, they can't get bottles to put the wine in. So it's an issue upstream and downstream because they need products to be able to process their product, and then they need to move their product out. So it has been a big issue for a lot of food processing and packaging coming out of the Willamette Valley. I also, of course, for many years have been attending the Willamette Falls and Landings Coalition, and we just recently have joined up officially as a city partner in the Willamette Falls and Landings, and their work, of course, is closely tied with the Willamette Locks Commission that Councillor Linville is on as we move forward. And this is really an exciting phase to look at having funding to actually get the locks open again. So that's a big step forward for Wilsonville especially. And then I want to mention that I did go down with some folks from the Parks Department and our archaeologic consultant to Boone's Ferry Landing to take a look at it while the water at the at the river is still low enough to be able to see the significant artifacts that are showing at the landing. Now, every day we get rain, the river is coming up a little bit, and the artifacts sort of go under, as well as with the turbidity of the water, you can't see them as well. But I've mentioned it to several people that fall is a good time to go down to the landing and look around at the footings that you can see that you can't see through much of the year. But of course, Parks is looking at it to see what we might do in the future to be able to have better access. Right now, you have to be able to, kind of scramble down and climb back up the bank. And and we'd like to be able to have people be able to put canoes or kayaks in at the landing there. So that's where we're moving along to, but we need to be respectful of what the archaeologic issues are down there, which are pretty significant. So we're being sensitive to that as well. So that's about all I've done in the last week or so.
Thank you, Councillor Leehan. I still think we have a canoe expedition ahead of us. Maybe we do it in different groups, so it's not a full council meeting, but we can get out there and see it from the water.
Yeah.
So, Councillor West, please.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody to vote in the special election. Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue has a bond they're putting forward to fix some fire stations, to get some funds to some essential services, and to support our first-time responders and firefighters. And so today, my family and some of my neighbors, we turned in our ballots, and I would hopefully you would join me, and I voted yes, just full disclosure, but I hope you would also join me in voting yes. It's your choice. We're excited to support that and want to encourage people to not forget. You have to get them in by tomorrow at 8 p.m. We have a lovely, robust, beautiful drop box right in front of City Hall. You do not have to get in your car. It could be pouring down rain, and all you do is crack your window and slip it in and drive away safely. So I'd encourage, if you have not done that before, that's where our drop box is, so please consider doing that. And either way, whatever your choice is, please exercise your right to vote. And then the toy drive for the city is happening. I think you can turn in toys until December 8th. Am I right? I think it's December 8th. And it's a way to remember kind of the ability to give to others during this holiday season. And those toys will go to some kids that will have a very, hopefully, wonderful holiday season and Christmas. Please make sure it's unwrapped when you drop it off. And it needs to be new. So new and unwrapped. And they will go to deserving little children. And I just want to give the announcement, the Wilsonville Wildcat football team became league champs on this Friday. They are 9-0, and they beat out Canby, which was the fourth-ranked team. They beat out Canby in a decisive, dominant win. It was a lot of fun there. It was packed at Canby. The helicopters were there. It was game of the week. A lot of hype into the game. The boys played really hard, and they won. And so now we go on to state. So to everybody on the council and anybody listening, the first two home games, because we're the #1 seed, are at Wilsonville High School. The next game is on Friday. If you guys want to attend, it's going to be a great big community event. And then it's also, and then the following Friday after that should be the next home game. So we get the two home games because we are #1 seed. So if you guys can make it, that'd be great. And your swag has been delivered, so I got that. I didn't go into it. I had time today to get it actually dropped off. So your guys' Wilsonville swag is delivered. So that's all I have this week. But everybody enjoy the holiday season, and don't forget to vote.
Thank you, Councillor West. Councillor Linville.
Thank you, Your Honor. I also attended the League of Oregon Cities Women's Caucus meeting, and I think Council President Ackerval neglected to mention that I think she was elected as an at-large member of the executive committee for the caucus. And so congratulations to her. And I also attended the Willamette Falls Locks Commission meeting, and the majority of that meeting was dedicated to the commission vetting and discussing potential nominees to forward to the governor for the Willamette Falls Locks Authority. And Councillor Leehan's name was not only supported by Wilsonville and by me as the representative of the council, but she should know that there are many other people who serve on the commission who have served in other capacities with Councillor Leehan over the years, and her accolades went on and on and on. And so I was very proud to be able to forward her name to as a nominee for the authority. Those names, there are some gaps in, there's concern about having adequate representation of persons in the community who can help get the authority organized and off the ground. And the Senator Betsy Johnson, when the legislation was passed to authorize funding for the repair of the locks, voiced some concern that she was not certain that the Locks Authority would be able to raise the necessary funds to be able to manage and run that organization over time. And so there was a lot of discussion about who were the citizens that needed to be, or corporate folks with corporate experience who needed to be on the authority. So that will continue, and then those names will go to the governor, and she will make her appointments by the middle of December. So I anticipate that we will hear about that soon. I wanted to also just reiterate that I really enjoyed the bus on the shoulder time, and that Council President Ackerval and I got our picture in the Portland Tribune, as there were many photographs taken, and with the former mayor Tim Knapp and Council President Ackerval and I enjoying our trip. And today's the inaugural day of the pilot project, and so again, I'm very proud to have our city be the entity that is running that pilot through SMART. And I just wanted to follow up on Councillor West's comments about the toy drive, and that is correct. The toys will go to the Clackamas County Compassion in Action, and those toys can be dropped off at our Parks and Rec admin building or at the Wilsonville Orthodontics office, which is 9475 Southwest Wilsonville Road. And they're only open on Monday through Thursday at the orthodontic place. So timing is important. And then I just wanted for folks to put on their calendar that November 27th is our Wilsonville City tree lighting, holiday tree lighting at Town Center Park. And that is just a wonderful event. We've had food trucks in the past, and it's a great time for families to come out and see the wonderful work that our Parks and Rec folks and our Public Works folks have done to decorate our trees. So just mark that on your calendar for Saturday, November 27th. And I can't give you a specific time, but it'll be dark. So plan to come early and stay and enjoy your time. So thank you, Your Honor. That's all I had.
Thank you, Councillor Linville, and everyone for all those announcements. I wanted to add couple more date announcements that I did not mention, and that is, I did mention Veterans Day, which is coming up on November 11th, and wanted to recognize and invite all the councillors and all the members of the public who could join us at Town Center Park for a Veterans Day event with the Korean War Veterans Association. They will be hosting an event that day at 10:30 a.m. So please join us if you can to honor our veterans. And we've also extended we continue to have some openings on our boards and commissions. The applications are open until November 15th, and there's good write-up on that on the city website. We also will be extending the deadline for the Civics Academy until November 15th. I think this has just been a really busy year. We want to give people more time to apply for that. Look forward to your participation. So that brings me to the consent agenda, and I would like to ask the city attorney to read the items on consent by title.
Resolution number 2926, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville adopting the Oregon Residential Specialty Code. Resolution number 2933, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement contract with Murray Smith, Inc. for owner's representative services for the Beckman Road Corridor project. And finally, minutes of the October 18, 2021 City Council meeting.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
The motion has been to approve the consent agenda as read. Has been moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. That brings us to city manager's business.
A few things to share tonight, Mayor. I think you mentioned the Civics Academy. That deadline was extended. I didn't hear it completely. I thought you said November 15th. I just want to be clear, it's November 5th at 5 p.m.
Okay.
November 5th at 5 p.m. And if you know of anybody that is in your little network that might enjoy a deeper dive into local government, if you could direct them to our website. That application process is pretty minimal, so it won't take a lot of time. The Arts and Culture Plan will be coming to you on November 15th, but I want to have Zoe do a screen share on the website. There's a specific page for this, and it's got a lot of detail in it, but I want to point out that there are some draft recommendations on there right now, and we are encouraging people to take a quick survey. It won't take long to do that if you're interested in arts and culture in Wilsonville. That would be the way to provide input to council. We will compile all that, and you will receive all that information when it comes to you in November. We have a paper shredding day in the City Hall parking lot on November 6th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we have a leaf drop-off at City Hall on Saturday, November 20th. So that's just some information to put out there to the community. And I think lastly, I just want to join Councillor West in wishing the Wildcat football team success in their playoff run. And I believe that the Lady Wildcat volleyball team will be competing tomorrow for a chance to make it to the Final Four. And I think both the boys and girls teams are competing in the state playoffs for soccer. So there's a lot of success coming out of the local high school, and I'm sure they would appreciate any support that folks could provide. So good luck to all those teams.
Thank you for that great shout out to some of the other teams as well. And that brings us, do we have any legal business, Ms. Jacobson?
No legal business tonight, Your Honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm going to shortly adjourn this meeting, and I will flag that we do have an Urban Renewal Agency meeting immediately following. So have a good evening. The meeting of the City Council is hereby adjourned at 7:54 p.m.
Do we need 7 minutes?
No, not unless you need them. This should be pretty quick.
Okay. I will call to order a meeting of the City of Wilsonville Urban Renewal Agency on November 1st at 7:54 p.m. Starting with the roll call, please.
Member Linville?
Here.
Member West?
Here.
Member Ockervall?
Here.
Member Leehan?
Here.
Chair Fitzgerald?
Here. Thank you. That brings us to citizen input, and this is an opportunity for visitors to address the Urban Renewal Agency Board on items not on the agenda. It's also a time to address the items that are on the agenda but are not scheduled for a public hearing. Staff and the Urban Renewal Agency will make every effort to respond to questions raised during citizens input before tonight's meeting ends or as quickly as possible thereafter. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Use the raise hand feature of Zoom to let us know if you would like to provide comments. Do we have any people wishing to comment?
We do not, Mayor.
Thank you. That will bring us to the consent agenda. Could I ask the agency attorney to read the items on the agenda?
Urban Renewal Agency Resolution Number 322, a resolution of the City of Wilsonville Urban Renewal Agency Board authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement contract with Murray Smith, Inc. for owner's representative services for the Beckman Corridor project. And minutes of the October 18th.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, and minutes of the October 18, 2021 Urban Renewal Agency meeting.
Thank you. Did everyone hear that well enough with my interruption? Thank you. Pardon me for that. Councillor West, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move to approve URA consent agenda as read.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Councillor Leehan.
Board member.
Member Leehan, please. Excuse me. Thank you for seconding the motion that was made by Member West. We have a motion and a second by 2 of our members. For all those members in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0.
Oops.
That concludes all of the business of the Urban Renewal Agency, and so I will adjourn the Urban Renewal Agency at 7:57 p.m. Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Friday.